Today I'm unboxing the latest set of winter riding shoes for Northwave, the Extreme 2 GTX XCMs. And we're going to be giving away 3 pairs of these super technical shoes. But bear with us on that, we're going to tell you all about them first. Now, Northwave have a bit of a history as far as it goes with making winter riding shoes. They make some very specific mountain bike wet and cold weather riding shoes. And we're talking about like Sub-Zero, the stuff that's really, really nasty to ride in. But this particular set here though, the Extreme 2 GTX XCM, is their flagship XC and trail riding shoe. Now let's start from the ground up. We'll look at the sole first. So this is an XC biased sole, and its job is to transfer power as effectively and efficiently as possible. Now there's a full carbon insert on the sole here for increased and maximum stiffness. So this has a stiffness index of 12.0. So as far as mountain bike shoes go, that's about as stiff as you can possibly get. Really, the only way to get a stiffer sole on a shoe would be for it to be a road shoe. Now you might notice there's quite an open pattern on here, so you've got TPU sort of inserts here. So these are for your traction, and they're also designed, they've got a profile that's designed to cut into sort of winter conditions. Talking about all that mud and muck out on the trail. And of course it's designed to not clog as well and not hamper your cleat retention system. Now the cleat recess channel here is quite wide and open, so it's designed to purge all that horrible mud away when you're trying to engage in really, really gnarly conditions. Now the actual recess channel itself is quite long, so those of you who like to run a cleat quite far back, I know I do because it feels a bit more like flat pedals, it's just the way I like it. You've got a lot of freedom of movement here, and there's twin sets of threads here, so you really get a lot of choice in where you're going to mount your cleats. Now up front there's also optional studs, so they do come with some smaller studs on there, and there's longer studs available for those really icy conditions. Of course for general winter conditions you don't really want studs, because if you're walking on firmer ground like tarmac or concrete at any point, they can actually be quite slippy. However, for those really cold conditions that these are designed for, studs are excellent. Now let's talk a little bit about the upper of the shoe. No messing around here. The Extreme 2 GTX XCM is a full Gore-Tex upper on this, and it's the Gore-Tex Duraltherm as well. So it's totally windproof, totally waterproof, and it's insulated for extra warmth in those really cold conditions. Out back here is a really, really solid heel box, and that's designed not only to really sort of protect your ankle, it's actually designed to give you maximum support and grip when you're actually pulling up on the shoes and on the pedals. The same goes for the front. There's a really, really solid toe box here, and it's actually a thermal coated toe box as well for increased warmth up front. And finally, something that's really tactile that I can feel myself is the fact there's like a rubber coating over the whole shoe. So it's designed to be really abrasion resistant. So that's obviously very focused on mountain biking. I know it's definitely going to make a difference when you're using these in really horrible conditions for extended periods of time. Now, as far as retention goes, they're quite simple. There's not a lot going on, but it's the SLW2 dial. So it's a dial with a release button built into it for really, really simple adjustment just by one hand. Very easy to operate with gloves on as well, which is important to remember, as riding conditions like you're going to be with these sort of shoes, you need to be able to operate this stuff with a single hand to really sort of dial them in as you ride. Now the key to this SLW2 system working is the X-frame design. Now this is unique to Northwave. This is their patented design for being able to really secure the dial with not giving you any pressure points. Now, a lot of other dial-based systems on the market, when you crank them up, they can actually constrict your foot quite a lot. Now, not only is that uncomfortable, but it also means you're losing out on power, and it can mean, more importantly in cold conditions, that it constricts your toes. Now, your toes do need to be able to wriggle around in winter shoes, because otherwise, A, you're going to be uncomfortable and you can get those pins and needles, and B, of course, you get cold if you can't wriggle your toes because your blood flow is restricted. Now, the X-frame system is designed, you can crank this up as hard as you can, and it just envelops your foot, but it never ever constricts it. It's a really, really good system. Now the collar is something really important on any winter shoe, and there's various different options out in the market. Now this is the Climaflex collar. Now this is made from Gore-Tex Rattler membrane, so this is a very unique material that Northwave are using here. Now you might notice that there's no Velcro strap. It's not like a loop style fit that you would see on a lot of other winter shoes. This fits far more like a bootie, and this is the key to keeping your feet completely warm and dry, because it just locks in all of that warmth and it avoids water getting down into the top of the shoe there. Now the inside of this shoe as well is also very tactile. It feels really soft and it's going to feel great against your feet. They've also got these Arctic GTX footbeds. So there's a 4-layer system of aluminium underneath here to make sure that warmth can't escape from your feet. You're effectively insulated from the ground. It's also got a nice fleece coating to it to further increase that sort of comfort and warmth that you need in those winter conditions. It's a really comfortable, unique system when mated together. And finally, it's just a whole bunch of smaller external features that you might not notice at first. So the tread design actually goes up the front of the toe, like you'd see on an off-road trail running shoe. Essential really for those times when you're off the bike in the winter. And although we do like to ride up hills, you are going to need to use those studs and that front toe tread here and there. There's reflective detailing everywhere, so they're really safe for riding on those darker days. And little things like that big loop on the top there. Of course, it is a necessity without that design that it doesn't have a regular cuff system on there, but they do make getting them on really, really easy. It's a fantastic shoe, and I actually think they look really cool as well, because winter shoes can look a bit wetsuit-like, and I actually think these look really quite extreme and quite gnarly. Now, if you're into winter mountain biking, you definitely want to have your eye on a set of these. So we are giving away 3 pairs of these amazing shoes for Northwave. Now in the UK they retail about 270 quid, that's about 310 euros and about 350 US dollars. So there's 3 pairs we're giving away. If you want to enter the competition, click the link below this very video. For another great video about riding shoes, click up here about how to pick the correct pedals. Ideal if you're thinking of a new set of shoes and you want the right pedals to go with them. Of course, if you love Northwave winter riding shoes, give us a thumbs up.